Hello and welcome to the session on disarmament. We shall now have a brief understanding of the term disarmament. The term disarmament is quite inclusive. The banning of particular weapons in the interest of humankind to preserve international peace and security by averting war, by the implementation of specific agreements. In simple words, we can say that it is the reduction of armaments, if not their abolition. I've mentioned a few definitions on the term disarmament. According to Morgenthau, disarmament is the reduction or elimination of certain or all armaments for the purpose of ending the armament race. Charles P. Sclater, he opines that disarmament is a means of reducing or eliminating the material and human instrumentalities for the exercise of physical violence. According to V.V. Dyke, any regulation or limitation having to do with armed power is treated as a measure of disarmament. We shall now see types of disarmament. Voluntary, compulsory. The nations involved are free to accept or reject a given program of disarmament. Example, the efforts of post-war second. In compulsory disarmament, we find that the nations are forced to disarm or have to undertake disarmament against their will. Example, Washington Treaty of 1922, where we found that Japan was forced by the US and Britain to adopt the disarmament program compulsorily. The next classification is qualitative and quantitative. Certain qualities of weapon with crucial and strategic importance or the vice versa are either reduced or banned. Example, partial test ban treaty. Quantitative disarmament is where we find an overall reduction of armaments of most or all the types. Example, World Disarmament Conference. The next category is local and general. When only few nations are involved, then it is called to be local. For example, the Rush-Bagan Agreement of 1817, which concerned only the United States and Canada. When almost all the nations are involved in the program of disarmament, it is said to be general. Example, efforts of United Nations. The next category is formal and self-imposed. Nations, after serious discussions and deliberations, conclude an agreement for reducing the use of weapon. Example, partial test ban treaty. In self-imposed, we find fear or unwillingness. The countries exercise control in the use of weapons. For example, Gulf War of 1991. We shall now see few reasons for disarmament. So the first one is to avoid war. The possession of warheads definitely increases the probability that they will be used. As Holstein rightly observes, the fear of national, if not global, annihilation provides unprecedented incentives to stabilize deterrence by measures to reduce the fear of surprise attack, arrest the diffusion of nuclear weapons, minimize the probabilities and effects of technological breakthroughs, and diminish the likelihood of unintended war through accident or escalation. Second one is to reduce the sufferings of war. Some states have ratified agreements banning the use in war of destructive kind of weapons. Example, chemical weapons. And that is why the destruction and banning of nuclear weapons have been proposed. Third one is the moral reasons. War is morally wrong. One can cite numerous examples from history of war preparations and attendant arms race culminating in war. Philosophers like Bertrand Russell King Hall and Mills suggest that unilateral disarmament can help to reduce international tensions. Fourthly, we have economic reasons. We can save funds which could be diverted to programs designed to improve the general welfare of the states. If it is done so, world would be entirely different industrially and economically. Next, we have few social and psychological reasons. The problem of poverty, hunger, disease, illiteracy, housing, and that of raising standard of living is found. It creates a psychological background of uncertainty, fear, and anxiety. Next, we have political reasons. Armaments which are supposed to provide security, in fact, will provoke the political difference. War is not an answer to any of man's imminent problems. Last, we have to win a public opinion. It is assumed that people at home and abroad will be inclined to give sympathy and support to a government that proposes disarmament. World public opinion usually goes against a state that indulges in excessive arms race. Let us now have a look at the hurdles which come in the way of disarmament. To mention a few, the first one is fear and insecurity. There is an inverse relationship between disarmament and security, and nations have always preferred security. Every nation, big or small, is usually busy in military preparedness. What prompted this nation towards this preparedness is the fear. Secondly, it's political reasons. The greatest problem facing disarmament efforts are not technical but political. Once political rivalry for supremacy begins, arms race among such states follows, and past disarmament commitment breaks down. Next, we have superpower conflicts. The strained relations between the superpowers served as a stumbling block in the way of disarmament. As long as Cold War persisted between them, the process of disarmament could not make much headway. However, it received an added boost when the process of detente overtook them. Next, we have the nuclear race. There is always a race among the states to possess qualitatively superior weapons, and there is a race to improve the quality of their own weapons. There are nations having nuclear weapons, and twice this number is capable of producing the same. All this encourages other nations to join the nuclear race too. Next, we have a few economic reasons. The nations providing weapons dictate prices, earn huge profits, and also bestow political favors by supplying modern weapons. The manufacture and sale of weapons have become the most profitable business, and unless measures are adopted to reduce the armament industry in size, the disarmament measures may not prove to be effective. The next most important reason which always comes in the way of disarmament is the ratio. So the main difficulty of disarmament is nothing but the ratio, as I said earlier. When the states endeavored to reach an agreement on disarmament, they face a serious problem as to what should be the ratio of arms reduction for various states, as every state wants to be superior in armaments to others. And finally, we have insincerity. Every country feels suspicious about the intention of other nations, that while it may effect a reduction in its armaments, other may not do so. This mistrust or this insincerity is double-edged. First, it will hinder the initial agreement, and secondly, it might lead to the collapse of the disarmament scheme be put into operation. So what are the efforts being made towards disarmament? So the first one to mention are number of unilateral reduction agreements, bilateral and multilateral agreements, partial test ban treaties, nuclear non-proliferation treaty, biological and chemical weapons convention, SALT I and SALT II, that is strategic arms and limitations talk, and finally comprehensive test ban treaty, which is popularly known as CTBT. So these are few efforts towards disarmament. Thank you for watching this session.